Thank you so much for taking some time here to join us on the Toddcast here in Vancouver. We're excited, of course. On the 13th of September next month, you're playing at the Clark Theater in Mission. Have you seen how cool that room is?
I've been touring for 22 years now, and I have a memory like this until I actually go back somewhere. And then I'm like, oh yeah. And then I remembered my bass player said this when he was on this corner of the room, and like it all kind of comes back. But when I'm not there, I don't, yeah, my memory is not that great. So I may have seen how amazing that room is.
Oh, you have played there before.
I don't know.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm also 3.5 years sober, almost 4 years sober, and there's like so much that it's just like, hmm.
Good for you. What was the reasoning for that? A lot of people have
Just
a
loving
lot of
myself
different.
more,
Yeah.
loving
Okay.
myself more.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Like
great.
liking waking up in the morning feeling really good, and liking remembering stuff.
Mm. You know what? You don't have kids, right?
I don't have kids, no. I have
Yeah,
nine
that's what.
godchildren though.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's what did it for me having kids. I mean, I still drink. I don't drink anywhere near as much as before, and
Yeah,
you do feel just better, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. Like I
yeah.
find when I do drink now, I'll probably binge drink, not
Right.
necessarily like have a couple, two, three beer a day, but it'd be like, have 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 when I'm out with
Right.
buddies or whatever. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
and talk about how good does it feel to be, back playing your music for your fans, for your friends. Like what a crazy
Yeah.
couple of years, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, Joni Mitchell said it best. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. And it's like, yeah, I've been touring since I was 17 years old.
Mm,
So like 23 years. I'll be 40 this year. And it's like I've never had this long a period of time since I was 17 not touring.
mm,
And just realized how much medicine it was for me. Because I know a lot of people say music is medicine for them, going to see shows, all of that stuff, but it's like it's huge medicine for me as well, being on that stage and having like that kind of conversation with the audience. Like it feels like it's a spiritual washing machine
mm.
almost, you know?
That's a that's a great album title.
A spiritual washing machine.
Yeah. Did you find that you lost your creativity at all during the pandemic, or at least the desire to create?
Pretty much the opposite.
Really? That's
Yeah.
great.
And because I ended up putting out this record during the pandemic. So it's been out for just over a year now.
Right.
And creativity, I feel like flows for me when I get the chance to have stillness. And that's why like usually when I put out records, there's just like 3 to 5 years in between each record because I need some time to have stillness in between. And I had such great stillness. And I feel like a lot of creativity comes from what happens after boredom, and I feel like,
Yeah, yeah.
right? I feel like kids these days and like the youth coming up, they're not really given that opportunity to be bored and to have to use their creativity to um because there's just so much happening, so much, I'm sure that
Mm,
there are some youth that are able to do it, but it's like before the internet, before, these things, before,
right.
having like 5 minutes of like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm really bored. I'm just sitting staring out a window.
Like
Oh, I'm
maybe I'll
staring
run to
out
Dave's
a window.
place and see if he's home, or like.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go outside and like, and that's when the creativity kind of starts flowing. And I felt like I had so much of that um during the last few years. And I
Cool.
started
That's
I
great.
started a record label with my manager called Art House, and we have a recording studio, and we started doing all of these mental wellness programs. We had a lot of time to be creative because everything was just online, right? And so we kind of took that up as an opportunity to start our art house mental wellness programs where like once a week it was free, and like youth and artists and people in the industry could come on and have group chats with really amazing therapists or doctors or, teachers and things like that.
Mhm.
And I learned how to play archery again. I used
Did you?
to I used to do archery when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
And I set it back up in my backyard. I ordered myself a bow.
Is it
I
like
got
riding a bike?
completely,
Nice.
yeah, completely. And just, more time in nature and
Yeah.
hanging out with my fam, my people that I'm
Yeah, I mean,
close
if there's a positive, if there's that silver lining in COVID, in the pandemic, it's definitely that, you get to hang out with your family, and, like, especially for me, I have, like, little kids still in
Yeah,
elementary school, right? So it was, and I was thankfully enough, lucky enough I one of the instructors at the radio arts course at BCIT, we worked from home. So
yeah,
I was seeing my family I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of families that were like, "Oh, man, seeing you too
yeah,
much," but it was awesome. Like,
yeah,
in that regard, it was pretty amazing, and it's great to hear because, Serena, I've probably talked to 100 musicians in the last couple 2.5 years on this podcast, and I would say at least a third of them were like, "Yeah, man, like I just couldn't, had no drive, no determination, had no initiative to do stuff." Like, it's great to hear that you are the opposite of that.
yeah. It was like kind of another avenue that came. It wasn't like I was writing a bunch and like, but what's my next record going to be and stuff, because I had already made a record before the pandemic had happened and I put it out during.
Was there
Um,
talk ever like maybe we should hold off on this? Like we can't really tour. Like, what's the point of putting out new music?
Yeah, there was talk about it. We didn't quite know. We held off just a little bit, but it was like, for me, my dream has always been like, not having to tour a lot and
Yeah.
being able to still create and stuff, because it's not always been that way, but because I've been touring for so long, that I was like, oh, I'd love to create and not have to like never be home again.
Right.
And so I was still able to do that, was able to put out this record and also able to. Because it's an album about my mental wellness journey, it was a really timely and I felt really important message to be putting out during the lockdown, when people were really, even people that hadn't struggled before with anxiety or mental wellness issues or whatever, everybody was struggling in some way. And so I thought that it was really important to be putting out, and that everyone was on the internet, everyone was on Instagram, everyone was on different things, reaching out to each other. And I thought that it was a really great opportunity to be able to talk about what was happening right then, for a
Yeah.
lot of people too. So,
Yeah. Good for you. That's great.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Mm.
I'm curious. What was the music like in your house as a kid? Like, why'd you go down this route? You blame your parents for it, or like what's going on?
Well, I kind of came out singing. I got on stage for the first time at my stepsister's wedding when I was 2 years old. I was
Nice.
I was singing, like I just knew the words "Beat It," and I sang "Beat It" by Michael Jackson. And there's a picture of the band behind me, and on the kick drum, the name of the band was Careers Without College.
Nice.
So it was foretelling for me because I didn't graduate high school. But because I started touring.
Right.
But yeah, so it is in my family too. Like my mom,
Mm.
Barbara, she was a go-go dancer, backup singer, tambourine player.
Oh, great.
My dad, Spike, who raised me since I was 3 years old, he's been my dad. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He used to listen to music all the time. Roger Miller, like so much. That was my favorite musician. Still is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Roger Miller, Culture Club, Julio Iglesias, Willie Nelson, Wham, like that kind of stuff. And then my uncle, um, who I never had the opportunity to meet, his name was Bob Carpenter, and he was a very, very well-known folk musician, would write songs for like Tom Rush, and he put out a bunch of records. Emmylou Harris sang backups on his album. And then my biological father, who I never met, was from Trinidad, and he was in a calypso band
Oh, no
called
way.
the Trade Winds. And so yeah, it's like fully in my family.
It's in your blood.
Yeah, yeah.
100%. Yeah. So, like, you say you didn't finish high school, you're playing shows and stuff, but like how old were you when you started your first serious, like, I'm doing this band?
Band?
Yeah,
Like
like
doing
putting
band?
together people, like grabbing
Yeah.
friends or whatever.
So,
Yeah.
well, my serious I'm doing this, like I started, like I put out my first record when I was 15.
Okay.
It was a
Wow.
tape.
15.
Yeah, 15. And I made a tape in order to make enough money to make a CD. And then I released a CD when I was 16. And then I had a full band put together by the time I was 17, um, called The Weak Knees. And it was with me, Dave Tuff, Greg Roy, Bo Dixon. It was so much fun. And by the time I was 18, I was in a bunch of different bands doing like cover songs and different things like that. I was in like a Marilyn Manson cover band when I was like 13.
No.
Yeah.
Serious?
Uh,
That's awesome.
yeah, and just lots of different things like R&B, lots Slips and the High Fives, Hot Buttered Charlie and the Oils, like really interesting music.
Nice.
And then by the time I was 19, Hawksley Workman and his manager Sandy Pandia, I was 18. They heard me on the radio and he'd been wanting to sign a female artist.
Okay.
And I just started touring like crazy with him in Europe, opening up for him, signed to his label. His manager, Sandy, became my manager. She's been my manager since I was 18. So we've been working together for 22 years now. And it just kind of went from there. Just like I've always been playing. Lots of shows, lots of
Incredible.
touring, different
Eh,
labels. Yeah.
what was your first concert that you went to as a it was a kid or teenager?
Tragically Hip was my first concert at Canada's Wonderland.
Nice.
Yeah.
What stands out from that still?
The smell of ganja.
Of course.
Just so much. I was like, "What's that?"
What is
The guy's
that?
like, "Oh, it's nothing. Nothing."
Yeah. Tragically Hip first show. And so how old were you for that?
11.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my first concert.
Yeah. Of course, you've had a ton of, highlights over the years. Could you nail it down to one career highlight, or is that just impossible?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I'd need to go through a bank. Like it feels like
It's almost like it's each career highlight is a highlight in its own. Like you reach that milestone of playing a bigger room, or you sold more records, or you did a show with this person that's been your hero, or
yeah. I feel like, you know, it's like in the moment when it happens in the moment. And I feel like one of my biggest career highlights has happened really recently where I've played Massey Hall many times. I played a headlining show on April 1st of this year. And I felt so present in myself when I was there. Like normally with something like that, I would kind of dissociate or be so nervous that I couldn't even like slow my heart rate down or be where I was. And so a lot of the time when my emotions are really high, I don't remember things, right? Because I'm not really there. I'm too nervous
mm,
and I can't really be grounded and be in myself. And um, I played Massey Hall with William Prince. We sold it out. It was sold out. And there was just so much love in the room. And I felt like I remember the show top to tail, and I remember being on the stage, and I remember, and just, the honor of being able to sell out Massey Hall, is amazing. So that's one. And then I guess another career highlight was actually just this past weekend
oh, cool.
where I played at this festival called Bear Creek in Alberta. And because I've been touring for so long and the Canadian music world is such a tight kind of community. Like after you've been touring for a while, it's like you're friends and family with everybody. And I got to this festival, and festivals are my favorite because it's not the you show, it's
Right.
the everybody show.
Yeah. And
So
then
you
of
get to
course you
see
get to
other,
watch bands too,
you
and
get to
it's
watch
fun, right?
bands and
Yeah.
hang out and jam with people.
Yeah.
And there were just so many amazing musicians that I loved and adored for so long, but that were actually all my friends now that I felt really close to. And so I was able to kind of be there and be in awe and also know them and love them. And it felt so great, like to be able to, like, I ended up performing with a bunch of my friends. I sang with Rose Cousins, who's one of my all-time favorite writers and singers. I sang my favorite song with her. I sang with Blackie and the Rodeo Kings, and I've been, I'm family with Tom. Like he's family. Like his son's my boyfriend, Thompson. So it was like this family. And then I sang with Steve Earle. I got up and sang with Steve Earle at the end of the night. And because he had taken me on tour when I was 19, 20 years old in Australia,
Mhm.
and really took me under his wing and like made sure I was getting home on time, make sure that I was eating and that I was safe, And he actually sang on my new record too. Steve Earle did a duet with me. So I have like a duet side of the new album, The Art of Falling Apart, and there's a bunch of different duets I do with people that I love, Steve Earle, Melissa Etheridge, people that I've known for a really long time as well. So I just felt really, really, I did feel like this past weekend was like so much gratitude.
Yeah.
Um, I had so much gratitude and so much joy. And it was definitely a career highlight just to be able to be there, to really be there too,
That's great.
not be like drinking a bunch of beer and like forgetting stuff,
Sure.
felt really
Sure.
good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this segues real nice actually into I want to kind of get outside of music for a little bit and kind of, ask some Serena Ryder fan questions from social media. And you just mentioned Melissa Etheridge. I guess we're not getting out of music necessarily, but Steve
Hmm.
wants someone. He goes, get her to talk about her love of Melissa Etheridge. I found that
Yeah.
interesting. Like
Yeah. So Melissa
'cause
came
she's been
into
on
my
this
life.
podcast before. She's great. Like
Oh, yeah.
what a beauty.
What a beauty.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful human inside and out. And we went on tour together. I was 29, 30. So I guess it was like 11 years ago. And it was just after I had gone through a really deep, deep depression. And I jumped on the tour bus with her in, I think it was like Edmonton or something like that. And it was like minus 30 at the time. And jumped on the bus with her. And all of a sudden was like, she just welcomed me into her life. And she was such a joy to be around. And I felt like we were family right away. And we became really, really close, me and her and Linda, her wife. That was before she was her wife at the time. We just connected like family. When you meet someone, you're like, I know you.
Hmm.
And like, this is really, really familiar. Which is so interesting because like my whole career before that, people always like, you sound like Melissa Etheridge. And, we
You're
both
like,
have
thank
this
you.
raspy big voice and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, we ended up just becoming family, and she really took me under her wing. And we've been friends since then. And, I go and visit her and hang out with her. And um, yeah, she's just a kindred spirit,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Serena, I've only got you for a couple more minutes here, so can I just blast off a couple like
Yeah,
quick shots?
no problem.
What's the worst job you've had? Craig wants to know.
Cleaning cottages for like a bunch of like Americans that came over the border and would just like leave their fish guts everywhere and cigarette and like cigars.
Wow.
That sucked.
Yeah. Mike wants to know what shows are you binge watching lately?
Oh, I started Portlandia again with my boyfriend, and we've been literally just watching a few episodes every night. It's
So
so good.
good. So good. First celebrity crush. Sophie wants to know.
First celebrity crush was Dick Van Dyke. in Mary Poppins. I is what I is, and I be's what I be. And then second was David Bowie.
Last question. Do you have a near-death story where like, holy crap, I could have died
Yeah,
there?
I was over the Atlantic Ocean, coming from Paris to go to Toronto, and um, what was it? Rolling Stone magazine or something was coming the next day for me to show them around Toronto.
Wow.
And I was over the ocean, and a little girl who had come and sat on my lap, like I love kids, and so I was like, she was like, "Can I come play?" And I was like, "Yeah." She sat on my lap. I'm like, "What's your name?" She's like, "Serena," which is so strange.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, wow, so is mine." Like we're drawing pictures, and then all of a sudden we hear the captain come over the speaker and say, "I am sorry, we have to go back over the ocean. We have a gas leakage on the plane. We have to turn around and go back." And so the plane, like we turned back around because we were not we were like almost halfway, but not quite. So we had to go back. So we're going back, and then as we're landing, we can see gas spurting out the side where of the wing. You can see like gas spurting out.
What?
Yeah, and the girl had gone back to her parents. Obviously, I was like, there was a mini me, a child self, sitting on my lap. I'm in a plane. Rolling Stone's coming tomorrow. I don't know what's going on, and like people were freaking out. There was a woman in the front being like, "I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. I don't care. I'm just gonna smoke now." like have a last cigarette or something before she goes down. And then the plane's going like, and you can see ambulances um and fire trucks and stuff as we're landing. We landed, and then we stayed on the plane for like 2 hours because it was around the time where like you weren't allowed to just get off the plane or unscheduled landings around 9/11 and stuff. It was years after, but
Yeah.
so we got like another like a thing attached to the side of it, and we had to jump out and slide down it like
Oh
that.
my God, you've done
So
that? Oh my God.
yeah, and then we went back, got to Toronto, and then they lost all my luggage. I didn't know where my hotel was. Rolling Stone was coming. That next day, I had no clothes. I had no credit card at the time.
And here you are today.
Right.
Serena, thank you so much for taking the time here to join us. You're easy to find on social media, just straight up, just your name. Uh,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
and then I guess we'll see you on the 13th at the Clark Theater in Mission. And of course, we'll see you online as well.
I'm so excited. Yeah. Doing a big tour all across the West Coast, though.
Very cool. Appreciate your time
Yeah.
today. Have a great day.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you, Todd.
Take care. Bye.
Okay. Bye.